Hi, it's Luke here from the Custard TV podcast. If you've heard our podcast over the last few months, you will know one show gripped us basically like no other. Well, a couple of others, but The Missing was incredible. Undoubtedly my favourite show of 2016. The show that I will look back on when I think of 2016 and think, that was clever, that was worthwhile, that was brilliant. One of the perks of doing the podcast and working on the site is I can speak to some of the people I admire, and this year I admire very much Harry and Jack Williams. I loved the first series of The Missing back in 2014. This was just phenomenal though, I really loved it, and so to get the opportunity to speak to the men behind it, the brothers behind it, was a dream come true. So here's my chat with Harry and Jack Williams about The Missing Series 2 ahead of the Boxing Day DVD and Blu-Ray release.
This is the Custard TV podcast.
So I'm very pleased, honoured, very, very honoured actually, to be joined by Harry and Jack Williams, creators of The Missing, 2014's mega hit and 2016's Obsession. Can we go back to the beginning and just say, where did The Missing come from at the very start?
Desperation, poverty,
unemployment, yeah,
All the
breeze.
usual reasons.
Well, it did actually sort of come from failure and all these other things, because we'd been writing a succession of comedy series, none of which had really worked out the way we thought they would, and we had sort of gone, oh, we should write. We actually said, shit, we're going to have to stop writing together because we can't support a life on this kind of failed sitcom stuff. So we sort of said, oh, but maybe we should try drama. So that was where we first decided to do something of that kind of genre.
So we had this idea about the French detective, and we went to France for a couple of weeks to the place Harry had his French exchange when you were like 12 or something.
Yeah, go back to a place you never want to return to. Where I just remember crying and missing my parents and feeling scared and alone and vulnerable.
So we're like, let's go there.
It was therapy.
It was therapy, and we got really drunk. There, Jackson was a photo of me in my underpants in the square of Lille Centre.
Good time. We should put that up for season 3.
We should.
The Missing Dignity.
Yeah.
So we wrote it in well, it took us a month or so, I think.
It took us a month, yeah. We plotted it out there, and then we came back and wrote it.
And we sent it off. We sent to our agent and said, this might be really embarrassing because it's really serious and people cry a lot.
We felt like sort of teenagers writing their first kind of poem. Felt slightly embarrassed about it because it was showing emotions. And we thought, oh God, have we done something ridiculous? And luckily our agent was like, well, no, I like it, so sent it out.
The crowd was, he was thirsty. And there was a big crowd watching the game. I was holding his hand.
I don't blame you, love.
I'm going out there.
What? Where?
No, because, he might have gone back to places that we were today, somewhere
But that
familiar.
doesn't make any sense. No, you should stay.
No.
What if he tried? He might try to come back.
No, but if he comes back, then you'll be here. It's fine. I'll go and look for him, and you stay here, and then you'll be here when he comes back. It's okay. I'll go.
Most of the channels turned it down. All of them, in fact. Apart from BBC.
Not all of them. Dave never had the opportunity.
Dave never saw it. The Beaver, and Polyella the Beaver was like, I love it, I want to make it. It was fantastic.
That was good.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, actually, do you ask for 8, or do they give you 8 to tell the story? How does that work?
A fight for 8 in this case.
Really hard. We gave the first one and Harry said, it's got to be 10. And I was like, why? He went, I don't know. For those episodes, it makes it better. And
You get more invested, you really can dig into it, you can spend time with characters that you wouldn't be able to because you're servicing the plot.
So episode 1, and they said, we want to make it, but we only want to make 6. And we said, no. And Harry said, it's got to be 10. And I was like, you're such an idiot. And then we had to go and write episode 2 to prove why it was 10. And then they stuck episode 2 for 6 weeks.
And I was thinking, oh shit, have I just derailed the entire show?
You'll be crying in your underpants again in France.
Sorry, Jack.
And then, fortunately, the commission, they said, no, you can have 8. And then we got 8. And I said, hey, they've got 8. And he went, shit, how do we do 8?
Really well thought through.
In watching the second one, we were like, there's so much story. And actually, by the time we got to the end, we did think we could easily have done 10. Because when there's 2 time reigns, there's so much.
There's a lot we had to cut out of the first one. There were whole strands that we were sad to see go. But
Well, I also think in the era where we're all supposed to be binging on stuff of 15, 16 episodes, 8 is just what you need. You need 8 to really tell a complex story like this. Don't you agree?
absolutely, I think it just gives you a chance to get to know everyone, to get invested in it and get excited about it. And
there's so many stories you wouldn't, so many avenues narratively you wouldn't go down if you only had 6. It's all about next. You know, who is Alice? It becomes very. There's nothing wrong with that, but the A story takes over in a big way. There's a lot of interesting character development and side alleys you can explore, and there's 8 alleys that you can't in 6.
Yeah.
Mrs. Webster, my name's Sergeant Eve Stone. I'm with the military police, 5th Investigating Company.
My name is Jan Leonard. I'm with the German police.
I'm sorry. I'm not really sure how to say this.
Is it Sam? Is he okay?
A young woman walked into Eckhausen yesterday and collapsed on Lindenstrasse. She was taken to Hanover Hospital where she was operated on overnight. She's stable now.
She says her name is Alice Webster.
What did you say? Alice, love. Mom. 11 years we've waited. I can't believe it. You haven't changed, Mum. Neither of you.
When Alice Webster returned, I remember people, they said, finally, she is free. Free. As a bird, you know. I never understood that saying. Nobody is free in this world. That girl who came back. After all those years kept in the basement. She wasn't free when she left that place. She was still a prisoner. But most importantly, I believe, that girl was not Alice Webster.
There was 3 dramas I loved in 2014: Happy Valley, The Missing, and Line of Duty. And Happy Valley got a second series, and The Missing got a second series, and I was kind of, why have they done it? They're going to wreck Happy Valley, they're going to wreck The Missing. Why are they doing more? How much did you feel about a second series? Was it panic? Was it excitement? Because the first had gone out so well.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It was sort of fear that you would leave a bad taste in the mouth. I think, one thing we said was if we do it, it's got to be so different, and we've got to be saying something different and fresh.
I think it was helped by the fact that we'd written the script for the second one even before the first one went out. It wasn't quite the same. It was quite different. There were a lot of things that didn't work. Although a lot of things that did end up in.
Yeah.
I think in the very first draft we revealed who it was in episode 1, in the first scene.
Yeah.
So the idea of playing a bit more of a cat and mouse and being narratively different was quite early.
Changing the rules from a whodunit to something else, was.
So I think we'd written the first one already, and then they said we want more. And then we said, great. But then seeing how the first one went, then we started to go, oh, shit, how do we do it again?
Yeah.
But I think because a lot of the initial stage had been before it came out, we weren't that stymied. And then it did take about a month to actually sit. We had a bit of a panic for about a month and didn't get anything done.
It was 2 years of intense panic and fear and paranoia.
Yeah, even before it comes out, we were planning to be away and not watch it. We thought, God, it's going to be so embarrassing.
It's going to shit the bed, and after the first one, they're going to call us out, figure us out.
Some people made a comparison, I don't know whether you saw, to BBC Three's 13, which at the start seemed a very similar premise. Were you worried about that at all? Because obviously the opening scenes are quite similar. Yeah. And I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
We were very worried.
We didn't know it was happening until we were sort of halfway through shooting The Missing. We're like, hold on, what's this? she looks like she's been in prison as well. And then you just sort of go, look, we're just going to carry on. We're making the show we're making.
Oh, exactly. The BBC had read both and was
yes,
like, I know they're different. And then we found out more about the show while we were shooting, and we knew. It became clear to us quite early on that once you got past episode 1, the show went in really different directions, and that made us feel better. It was just that initial thing when it's coming out, and the episode 1s cover very similar themes, and that was a worry for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that did well, actually.
People tell us now, or people don't watch TV at home at 9 o'clock. They're watching catch up, or they're watching on their phones. Nobody watches TV at 9. But the missing proved that people were sat at home, desperate to know what happened, and then they were on Twitter minutes afterwards going, well, what do you think that was all about then, with all their theories? How important is that to the success of the show in your eyes?
For us, it's a hugely important thing because it reminds us of a kind of TV that we watched when we were younger, and it brings people back to the living room together, and they watch it together, and it's something they talk about the next day, and it's a sort of event to a certain extent. It's a thing they can discuss. It becomes part of their lives. And when you're writing something, that's the dream, isn't it? That it becomes a thing that people talk about,
and you can read about yourself like endlessly, which is
exactly.
Never get boring. That no.
Well, it does when it's going badly. It's horrendous. It's just self-flagellation. You keep looking. Why do they hate me? And you keep looking. Cut that.
Well, there's this thing I get it with music on iTunes where there's so much music and binge watching. You're like, there are so many things coming out all the time, and you can watch them all in one go. Actually, there's a reaction to that that's like, actually, hold on, can we just take a minute and enjoy the process of each one and take our time on it? Because
make love nice and slow.
Make love nice and slow for a change. Just stop going at me.
That's the tagline for the next series of The Missing, if there is one. I think.
Exactly.
Talk me through how you write it, because it's a very complex story with the 2 timelines, often 3. Do you literally write it that 1 minute you'll be writing these scenes and then you'll go, right, we need to flash back here? Or do you write all this stuff in 2014 first? How do you do it? I can't imagine.
We try not to set any rules, really. I think we've tried to be structured. We've tried, just doing one timeline. We've tried. I think at the end of the day, we just go, what's a cool idea? What might happen? And then you suddenly find yourself going, oh, that'd be great around episode 4 or 5. Oh, that'd be great. And then you look at it and you go, shit, there's actually quite a good shape for episode 2 we could do here. And then you start to build it together. And I think very much writing the timeline separately doesn't work. I think
no, because they're not informing each other and helping each other's narrative. We just sit around and talk about all the things it could be and have a massive chat for weeks on end and write down things we like. And some of them are, they're good ideas, but they don't actually make sense. They don't live in the real world, so you have to get rid of them even though you love them. But the ones you really like, you try and make them work. You try and figure out a world where that narrative can be held up by the stories you tell with other characters or how they can all interweave. So it's just sort of process of throwing ideas into this thing.
And then organising it thematically. I mean, episode 6, for example, it's sort of all about family, and Julianne's away from his, and he's having his like the soul, and you're cutting to Adam and his weirdly, apparently cosy domestic setup, which is obviously very twisted. So once you find a theme that organises it all together, then everything else kind of starts falling into place.
It helps you tell those smallest character stories. Yeah.
I couldn't lie in a hospital bed waiting for the devil to take me.
Comme il a pris ma femme.
He let us go back into that hospital and wait for you, thinking you just need to summon your nerve. The surgeon, the nurses, everyone! I had to go back in there and tell them I didn't know where you were. You ran away! You ran away for one last moment in the sun for the great detective Baptiste, because we're not enough for you!
Comment oses-tu? Comment oses-tu dire ça? J'ai fait tout ça pour vous! Tout ça pour vous!
Before you sit down to write it, you know where you're going, or does it sort of happen organically as you go?
It's always the very last scene we tend to have after the first step. Whereas we're writing the first step, we'll know exactly what the very last scene is.
The moment we gave Julianne brain tumour, we were like, it'd be really cool last scene.
Yeah,
to see him.
And with Jimmy in 1, we were like fans. We knew he wanted to have a similar scene to the very opening one, except he's been on this big journey, and we all know he's dead, but he's lost it basically.
What was the most important part of the story for you both? I know people got tangled up in who is this person, or was it more the stuff in Iraq? What was the biggest, most important piece to you, or does it all just hang together as one?
I mean, certainly some of my favourite parts are the parts when you're writing and you write something and you go, I don't know what we'll do after this, and that's what's exciting. So at the end of episode 5, I think when Adam breaks out the drill.
Yeah.
We handed it in, and every other exec said,
"You can't do this. This is insane. Why would you do this?"
And we said, "Why?" And they said, "Because I don't know what you're going to do next."
And we were like, "Isn't that a good thing? I mean, it's stressful for a bit."
And we didn't know either. We were like,
No.
I have no idea. But then
We said we did.
we said we did. Yeah.